This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Got a car to sell but no time to waste? Hop on to Carvana.com to get a real offer for your car in seconds. All you have to do is enter your license plate, answer a few quick questions, and if you accept the offer, Carvana will pay you as soon as you hand the keys over. They even offer same-day pickup in many cities. Save your time, score some cash, and sell your car the convenient way to
Carvana.
Pickup times vary. Fees may apply.
Shopping is hard.
I can never find anything in my size.
I don't even know my size.
I buy my clothes the same place I buy my groceries.
There's a better way. Make it easy with Stitch Fix. Just share your size, style, budget, and done. Your personal stylist sends pieces picked just for you.
That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Free shipping and returns. No subscription required. Get started today at StitchFix.com.
Your burger is served, and this is our finest Pepsi Zero Sugar. Its sweet profile perfectly balances the savory notes of your burger.
That is one perfect combination. Burgers deserve Pepsi.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. Enjoy complimentary access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection. And with a welcome offer of 150,000 points after you spend $20,000 on purchases on the card within your first 3 months of membership, your business can soar to new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
This episode is brought to you by Polestar. There's only one true way to experience the all-electric luxury SUV Polestar 3, and that's to take a test drive. It can go from 0 to 60 in as little as 4.8 seconds with the dynamic handling of a sports car. But to truly understand how it commands the road, you need to be behind the wheel. Up to 350 miles of range, the 3D surround sound system by Bowers & Wilkins. It's all something you have to experience to believe. So book your test drive for Polestar 3 today at polestar.com.
If you went on a road trip and you didn't stop for a Big Mac or drop a crispy fry between the car seats or use your McDonald's bag as a placemat, then that wasn't a road trip. It was just a really long drive. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.
Hey business owners, we know you know the importance of maximizing every dollar. With the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business American Express card, you can make your expenses work just as hard as you. From afternoon coffee runs to stocking office supplies and even team dinners, you can earn miles on all your business expenses. Plus, you can earn 110,000 bonus miles for a limited time through July 16th. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business Card. If you travel, you know. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply. Offer ends 7/16/25.
Welcome to the HCI family of podcasts. We're your source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We share our own original research, explore industry trends, and interview executives and thought leaders from across the globe. Join us for practitioner-oriented content around all things leadership, HR, talent management, organizational development, and change management. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with the HCI family of podcasts.
Dr. Jennifer Nash, welcome to the conversation today.
Thank you so much for having me, John. I'm delighted to be here.
It is a pleasure to be with you. You're joining us from Austin, Texas. I'm south of Salt Lake City in Utah. And today we're going to be talking about your recent book, Be Human, Lead Human: How to Connect People and Performance. I love the title. I'm super excited to talk about the contents of your book and really unpack and explore this together. As we get started, I wanted to share Jennifer's bio with everybody. Jennifer Nash is an executive advisor, leadership expert, and consultant to Fortune 50 organizations such as Google, Ford, ExxonMobil, JP Morgan, IBM, Boeing, and Verizon. She is founder and CEO of Jennifer Nash Coaching and Consulting, helping successful leaders connect people and performance to deliver exceptional results. Jennifer's 25-year resume includes serving in executive and leadership roles at Deloitte Consulting and Ford Motor Company, and as adjunct professor at the University of Michigan. She contributes to Harvard Business Review, has presented her research at Columbia University, and is a Harvard McLean Institute of Coaching Fellow. She is the author of the best-selling Be Human, Lead Human: How to Connect People and Performance, which we're going to be discussing today, and a leadership book designed to elevate leadership skills and enhance individual and organizational effectiveness. I love that. Thank you so much, Jennifer, again, for joining us. Anything you would like to highlight by way of your background or personal context before we just dive on in?
No, I think we're ready to just dive in.
Okay, cool. Well, I always like to ask authors, why this book? Why now? There's lots of leadership books out there. There's tons of leadership books out there. So what was it that compelled you to write this book at this time? Books are a labor of love. You know, it's a lot of hard work. There's lots of people in this space. You're spending tons of your time and energy doing consulting work. You're thinking about this stuff all the time, but to put it down on paper, right? To actually type it out, to get it put down, to go through the editing process, all of that's hard. It takes a lot of time. It's a different kind of work than probably what you're usually used to doing. So
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
So what really motivated you to go this path, to do this book at this time?
So one of the things that really motivated me to sit down and write this book and take the time, as you indicated, it takes a lot of time to do this. And it's not something that is your normal course of daily activity. So I, in the course of conversations with clients, certain things kept popping up over and over and over again around, the leader effectiveness. And I felt like if there was a way that I could codify all of the information that I've been sharing with people and get it into one place, and then share that as a resource, with clients when they're asking, it would be a way for me to reach a lot more people and help people improve the capabilities that they're seeking to improve. Because I can't coach everyone, I can't consult with everyone. So this was my gift to the world to help leaders be more effective in their work and create the kinds of workplaces that we all want to be in.
That's always been my thought too. Like, I'm a professor. That's my full-time gig. I do consulting work on the side. I do things like this podcast on the side, and I love doing it. And I don't, it's nice to earn income. It's nice to earn extra income. But I really don't do it for that. I do it because I want to disseminate. I want to reach people. I want to help more organizations. I want to help more people, right? And having these types of conversations, if I can reach more people and help more organizations and more people because of the conversation we're having today, and more people become aware of your book, more people buy your book, and they learn from it, I feel like I am doing a better job as a professor. If I am able to help more of my students, so I'm able to help more executives. And I think by and large, I think that's what motivates most of us. I mean, there are certainly plenty of, self-interested individuals wanting to earn money, and that's not a bad thing either. But I think there's just a real desire to just make the world a better place. Like, let's just improve the circumstances under which leaders lead and people work. Let's just make organizations better. Let's make the employee experience better. And I really do think that's what's driving most people.
It really is. A lot of the clients that are coming to me these days, they really, one of the first things they say is, I want to make a change because I want to have more of an impact in the work that I do. And I want that impact to make the world a better place. And when we look at what's happening right now with, companies and leadership essentially really wanting to go back to status quo, right? Before COVID, when things
Mhm.
were all sort of um, in a predictable format where we didn't have, unexpected things happening like a pandemic,
Yeah.
you see that, there is a need for this because we're not going back to status quo. There will never be that status quo again. We have a new status quo now, and organizations that are ahead of that curve and willing to change and evolve will be the ones that win the talent war.
And that talent war is fierce. And it's fascinating to me. Like, it's not surprising, I suppose, because people like what is comfortable, people like what they're familiar with. And so the fact that many leaders are trying to revert back to like what things were like pre-pandemic shouldn't necessarily be a surprise. But it is fascinating to me that we learned so much during the pandemic. We learned so much about the value of the flexibility. We learned so much about what people were capable of.
Yeah.
And now we're just going back. Why are we just going back? Why can't we just learn from that, pivot, like move forward?
Yeah.
Because we gained so much momentum. We you
And
know we talk about the future of work, and so many people, I think, aptly observe, like, we launched ourselves forward, you know, into the future of work more
yeah.
rapidly. Why take steps backwards? Like, that just blows my mind, especially in ways that are going to hurt people. Why would we do that? But again, human nature, we like what we know, we like what we're comfortable with. So it does make sense. But yeah, it is a bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah, I would offer that there's a couple reasons why, we want to go back to that status quo. I think one, first and foremost, people are uncomfortable with change, right? And
Yeah.
we know from systems that when there is some kind of outlier or something different that happens, the system ejects the outlier. And it's a
Yeah.
little bit of the same thing with people, right? When they have something that happens that is out of the norm, we want to default back to that status quo as quickly as possible to feel like things are back, in equilibrium. I think
Hmm.
that's one reason. I think the second reason is around when you have a system that is set up like we have with, prior command and control, where we've been teaching leadership the same way pretty much for over 100 years, not a whole lot has changed. And leaders, as soon as COVID hit and they had to lead in a different way, they looked in the toolbox and said, oh my gosh, there aren't really that many tools in here to lead people. So what am I going to do? So that was also, I think, a second reason why, there's this desire to go back to the status quo. And then I think the third reason has to do with financial implications. So organizations invested a lot of money into these, buildings and, different resources that they have for their companies. And if those are sitting empty, they're not realizing any kind of return on that investment. So that I think is another reason why there's this insistence on let's go back to status quo. Let's have everyone come back to the office 5 days a week, right? Like we're seeing with some of the tech companies now creating these mandates for organizations. And I just saw someone recently who said, oh, there's all these rage applications happening on LinkedIn right now because people are very upset that they're being asked to, go in 5 days a week when during COVID they were trusted to work from home. And maybe that was just by default.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I think those are the reasons why we're seeing back to office mandates and why things are reverting back to pre-COVID kind of status quo. I just think those are mostly stupid reasons, but they're understandable. Like again, human nature, we resist change. We like what we know, we like what we're comfortable with, and what we're comfortable with is command and control. What we're not comfortable with, especially kind of older generations of leaders, is remote work, hybrid work. How do you manage people when you're not like wandering around the office checking in on people when they're sitting there, right? And so I get it, but times are changing, so like we do have to figure out how to lead in a remote world. I also like when I hear you're not advocating for it, but when I hear that argument of we have all this money in these buildings and so we better bring people back, that is the dumbest argument. That sunk cost fallacy is like the dumbest thing. Like, okay, so you have that expense, figure out what to do with it, maybe get out of that lease as soon as you can, but that's not a reason to like force everyone to come back and then lose good people because they don't want to have the restrictions on their flexibility. Anyways, that's a pet peeve of mine, but you're right. That's definitely a reason why people are giving for forcing people to come back.
Well, it's so interesting too, right? Because now we have people saying, oh, well, you've got to be back in the office 5 days a week. And some people are saying, well, maybe that's actually a disguised riff, right? Maybe we do want to have attrition. Maybe we do want to let go of a lot of people. We don't want to have the negative backlash of announcing that we're going to let people go. So we'll just call people back 5 days a week. And then those who opt out of that, we have natural attrition. So there's that dimension of what's happening right now as well. And I don't condone any of these things, by the way. I think it's fascinating to watch what's happening and how it's happening. And we may have another great recession of 2024 on our hands shortly.
Absolutely. It's all fascinating. So, as we're observers looking at all of this, it's just, it's such, as a social science researcher and as an organization's researcher, and professor, I look at this just as a researcher and I'm like, oh, this is so interesting. As a consultant, I'm like, oh, come on, like, can we not shoot ourselves in the foot? So I also have that hat on. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about your book though. You talk about how leadership is evolving. We've kind of alluded to this a little bit, right? Because the nature of work is shifting. We're moving into the future of work that looks different. Command control was the name of the game in the past, but we've seen dramatic shifts over the last 50 plus years. We're in a knowledge economy. Largely, I mean, there's still factories and there's still agriculture and there's still people doing those jobs, but even those jobs look dramatically different today than they were 50 years ago. And so it's just an entirely different type of an economy with entirely different types of jobs. What it means to lead in this kind of an economy, in this workforce, is just so different. And yet we tend to hold on like with a iron grip to the old models. So in your mind, the title of your book, Be Human, Lead Human, what do you see as this new leadership evolution? Like, what does the new form of leadership look like as we move into the future of work?
Yeah, so as we're thinking about the future of work, the role of a leader, as we're mentioning, it has actually evolved, right? We were back in that command and control space. We were there for a very long time.
Yeah.
And the role of a leader is now really shifting to someone who can be a coach and a facilitator and help their people understand how all of these drastic, massive changes that are occurring are impacting their role, are impacting their department, are impacting the organization, and what that means for them on a daily basis. And so this idea of leader as coach, right, of how you help people um, perform at the highest level they can possibly perform and deliver the work that they need to deliver as a team and collaborate to do so is part of what that means to be leading as coach.
Yeah, I agree. I think leading as coach, so there's this mentorship piece that I think has been there in the past, but it's really much more front and center now. That coaching piece that has been there in the past, but really needs to be front and center now. Also, as I think about the younger generations, millennials certainly got kind of known for this. Certainly younger millennials, Gen Z, get kind of labeled as entitled, I think in part for this reason, because they expect constant feedback. They expect the coaching. And in some people's eyes, they see that as entitlement. They see that as you need to figure it out. You need to go through the hard knocks. You need to get into the workplace, and you need to work hard, work your way up like we did. We didn't have someone spoon feeding us. We didn't have someone, giving us feedback constantly and coaching us constantly. And so that's kind of how some people are viewing younger generations. Yet the younger generations are just saying, I just want feedback. I just want coaching. I just want to know how I can improve, so I can add more value, so I can develop in my career. And
Right.
and honestly, like partly, I figure like people like me are to blame because that's what I'm teaching them at the university. I'm teaching, like when I teach them like what good leadership is, I'm teaching them it's people who are mentors and coaches and are providing regular feedback, So
Exactly.
they go out into the workforce expecting that, and then they don't get it. And then, and then they're unhappy,
Yeah.
or they feel like they're not having opportunities for advancement or opportunities to get the kind of support that they feel like they deserve in the workplace, and then they get labeled as entitled or whatever. And so it's this weird divide, that we see it, at least in part generationally, but it's in part just a completely different set of expectations that we see between people that kind of had a different way of viewing work in the past versus today. But I agree. I think that coaching piece, I don't see it as entitled. I just see that as good leadership. Like, I think good leaders coach, good leaders provide feedback, good leaders are providing development opportunities for their people. And I don't think that's coddling. I don't think that's anything like that. I think that's just being a good leader. If my number one job as a leader is to help develop my people, um, it's to
Thousand
help
percent.
it's to help build my bench strength. And
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, if I'm not, I need to make sure things run. I need to make sure that I'm dealing with issues as they arise. I need to do those things too. But really, my number one job is to make sure that I'm developing my people so they can do their jobs, because I'm not the expert in all of their areas. I'm just helping facilitate them doing their jobs and helping them develop and grow. Right.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And there's such this notion that, the leader has to have all the answers, right? And
Yeah.
they
Which is impossible.
it's impossible these days because things are so complex and things are so dynamic. That's not realistic. We also know, like from research, that from the time someone is appointed as a leader of people to the time they actually get leader development training is about 15 years. So when they're coming into this role and all of a sudden they're expected to lead people and they have tools in their toolkit that are supposed to be leading projects and tasks, that doesn't work well, right? We've got human beings as opposed to inanimate things. So developing that coaching skill set is critical. And that is part of what is intended by my book to help leaders and anyone for that matter develop their communication skills, develop their collaboration skills, develop their ability to build relationships and adopt a coaching mindset. Um, so often I think there's a misconception that when you coach someone, you're actually telling them what to do. Well,
Right.
it's not that because that is
Yeah.
actually consulting, right? You're giving them recommendations or advisory guidance on what they should do. But coaching is more of it helps people elicit what is inside them and helps them realize how to go about doing something. So yeah, there is an element of you may have to struggle through this a little bit. I will be there to help guide you on the side, right? But I'm not going to be telling you what to do.
Yeah. Well, and I think about it, I'm at the university, I'm a department chair. So, I lead a department of 18 full-time faculty, about another 30 part-time faculty. But, academic leadership's different than like corporate leadership, there's a lot of autonomy, a lot of flexibility, right? And so
Yeah.
really what I think is more applicable is like when I'm teaching a class, I teach like an organizational leadership, organizational development and change management class, and we do these consulting projects. So we'll form teams. I'll have like 4 or 5 teams of 4 to 5 students each doing consulting projects with organizations. And each of them are like essentially self-managed teams where I'm the coach and mentor as the faculty member. We go through the curriculum, and while we're learning about OD and change, they're actually doing a project in real time, applying what they're learning, right? And I have to scaffold it. I have to make sure that they feel supported and they can kind of apply what they're learning, because they're novices and they're figuring it out as they go. And that makes students super uncomfortable, right? They want to know exactly what they need to do. They want like to be spoon fed. They want to like really know each exact step. And I'm like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works in the real world. I do provide scaffolding. I do provide support, but I also am nudging them. Like you said, coaching is not giving them all the answers. Coaching is supporting them as they work it out, right? And so that's something that I experience with my students every semester, as I'm helping them. And I imagine that this is not my experience because I'm not in the corporate world full time, but I imagine it's not that different than what a manager would be dealing with if they were hiring a bunch of new college grads trying to help them, in their first job. And so in that experience, is it challenging? Can it be challenging to coach? Yeah, it can be, but it's also incredibly rewarding, and they're also super capable. It just takes some patience. But they learn and they grow, and they come such a long way over the course of 4 months of a semester. Like, it is amazing to see the arc of their development and their learning during that time, which is so rewarding, and it's rewarding for them. So when they have someone who's there to support them, not coddle them, not spoon feed them, but like be there to scaffold and support and to coach, like you were talking about, it's amazing what they can accomplish, right? And that's what a good leader in a corporate setting can do, if they're willing to commit. And I'm not spending like endless hours doing this, by the way. I have other stuff I'm doing. Like, I have other responsibilities. I can't spend 40 hours a week helping students in this one class. So I have to manage my time well. I'm not spending endless hours doing that. Obviously, a manager in an organization can't spend endless time coaching their people either. You can, but you can't. I guess my point is, you can do it though. Like, you can commit to coaching your people. You can make sure that you're devoting enough time to do it well, and you can find great results from it. And people will perform at a high level. They'll be super satisfied and happy about it because they're developing and growing, which means they're going to have future opportunities. They're going to be energized because they're going to see what they're learning and how they're developing. And it's a win-win for everybody because there's increased high levels of performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And a great, a case study around that is one that I include in the book. I tell the story of how, when I was working at Ford Motor Company, we use these human leadership, as I talk about in the book, principles and practices to help the organization move forward. Right. And for people who are listening who are thinking, oh, this seems really, woo-woo, or this seems like, oh, it's too soft or it's too fuzzy, it's not going to work. I would invite them to consider that Ford Motor Company, at the end of Ford Alan Mullally CEO tenure, they had increased their stock price 1,837%. Engagement rates had gone from 40% to over 90%. So for anyone listening, if they are needing a leadership model that delivers optimal performance and helps your people grow and evolve, this is an optimal way for them to start making that shift in their own organizations.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Jennifer, this has just been a really great conversation. I note the time. I need to let you go here in a minute. We could talk for hours, I think, but we will need to probably end it here. Before we end, I wanted to give you a chance to share with the audience how they could connect with you, find out more about your work, where they can find your book, and then give us the final word on the topic for today.
Sure. So people can connect with me at my website. It's drjennifernash.com. That's drjennifernash.com. There I have the book. They can find more information about that. I have a complimentary assessment that they can take to help them identify where do they fall on that human leader continuum? In other words, where are they from a command and control perspective versus a coach and facilitator perspective? And I also have a new class out called the Humans Masterclass, which they can sign up for and learn how to improve their collaboration, communication, and connection skills.
I really appreciate the time. I encourage the audience to reach out, to get connected, find out more about what Jennifer can do for you, check out the book. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the podcast. We hope you stay healthy and safe, and please join us again soon.